영상의 구성은 다음과 같습니다. 그럼 한번 시작해 볼까요?
This morning, we are bringing back, due to popular demand, our series that asks the golden question, how often should you? This morning, we are bringing back, due to popular demand, our series that asks the golden question, how often should you? This morning, we are bringing back, due to popular demand, our series that asks the golden question, how often should you? This morning, we are bringing back, due to popular demand, our series that asks the golden question, how often should you? So here's a phrase that came from the video, golden question. And the sentence in there is, this morning, we are bringing back, due to popular demand, our series that asks the golden question, how often should you? So, yeah, I don't know. How often should you do certain things? It was quite interesting, huh?
I have no idea. Probably.
Okay. Alrighty then. So, how would you like to please read that sentence for me?
Alrighty. This morning, we are bringing back, due to popular demand, our series that asks the golden question, how often should you?
Yeah, right. So, is the phrase golden question, is that one that you have heard before or used sometime?
I never heard, I never used.
Okay, so now we're going to add something new to your vocabulary.
Woohoo!
Yeah, so golden question, here's what that means. Used this way, it just simply means an important or a very interesting question. The phrase golden question I've heard used other ways and meaning different things in that case. So I think it's really important to read the other words in the sentence and find from context the words around it exactly what the expression might mean. So like I said, used this way, it means an important or a very interesting question. Okay, does that help with so golden, like rings are golden, jewelry
Earrings,
is golden.
yes.
Yep, not golden used in that kind of a way. If you think, oh, maybe it's just a big old question mark done in the color gold, and no, that isn't what it means.
I see.
Okay, here's another sentence that maybe will further explain. I need to ask the golden question about your new job. How much are you earning? Yeah. So golden question, because wow, that would be really important. It would be also pretty nosy of me. But, if someone tells you they have a new job, isn't one of your first questions? Maybe you don't ask it, but you say, oh, I wonder how much they're making.
Yeah, probably. But I think it's at the same time, it's kind of sensitive question or delicate question to ask.
Oh, very, very good way to put that. Yeah. And I would also say maybe even inappropriate, because depending on how well you know the person,
right,
maybe you shouldn't ask it. But I thought it was a great example of a golden question, because that would be something really important or also very interesting.
It is. Yeah.
Yep. So, your turn. Would you read my sentence for me?
Sure. I need to ask the golden question about your new job. How much are you earning?
Yeah, and nice job with pronouncing golden. You kind of caught yourself and corrected there. So
Thank you.
well done. Well done. So, can you think of any situation? So kind of be rolling it around. There's an expression, kind of have it in your mind. What might be an example you could come up with of a golden question? In the meanwhile, here are some synonyms or words that mean the same.
Okay.
So, like the main question, the key question, key meaning important, not like a key you put in a lock, the major question. So something that is really, really important, main, key, major question.
Gotcha. Quick question.
Yes.
But as I said before, I never heard used the golden question. But I heard people saying, "Oh, I have that is really good question. That is $1 million question, $1 billion question." The have like a same meaning?
It does. The $1 million question, it would be like, what is the most important? Because $1 million is a lot of money.
Right.
So the $1 million question, that would have been a great synonym for me to have used for this. So yeah, that's exactly what it means. Like very important, very like, do you know the word utmost? Of the most.
I do, yeah.
So it would be of the utmost importance.
I see. Thank you.
Not that you're going to get $1 million for it, though.
Too bad.
Too bad. Yeah. So, questions on golden. Oh, there's a good one. Questions on golden question.
Wow.
So what do you think? Can you try to use it in a sentence of your own?
I think I'm ready to try it.
Okay, give it a try.
Okay, here's the golden question that I have for a long time. So if I keep learning English from you like this over and over, do you think my English will improve or I will become a native speaker in the near future?
I definitely think your English will improve because, I mean, the truth is the more you practice something, the better you get at it, right? Whether it's, playing the piano or playing tennis, the more you do it, the better you get. And that's the same with learning a new language. Will you become a native speaker? I think over time.
Over time, wow.
Over time, yeah, yep. And languages are different, right? There are some sounds in English that are not made in Korean and probably the other way around too. Mm-hmm. So some of those sounds are a little harder to pronounce, but again, over time and with practice, I think everybody improves.
Practice makes perfect.
Something like that anyway.
Thank you for...
Practice makes possible.
Possible. Not perfect.
That was not perfect necessarily.
Anyway, thank you for answering to my golden question.
You are quite welcome. So, hey.
Thank you.
Most manufacturers say you can wipe them down. 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 So we also heard in the video the sentence, most manufacturers say you can wipe them down. So wipe them down is an expression that came from the video. Mm-hmm. And what wipe them down means is to really kind of literally take something like perhaps a cloth or paper towel and to wipe something down mm-hmm. to clean its surface. And usually the cloth would be damp, the paper towel would be damp. So you're wiping something down.
What does damp mean?
Oh, good example. Damp means wet.
Wet.
Not like so wet that if you squeeze it, water drips out, mm-hmm. but just a little bit wet.
Little bit wet.
So good catch on a new vocabulary word. So
gotcha.
Yeah. So how about wipe them down? Will you read the sentence for me?
Oh, the example sentence?
Yes, please.
Okay. Most manufacturers say you can wipe them down.
Yeah, good job with that. Manufacturers, that's kind of like a bit of a tongue twister because it's such a long word, right?
It is. Yeah.
And it has so many, you know what a syllable is? As you break the word into its little parts, it's got a lot of syllables in it.
Right.
Yeah. So another sentence I came up with for wipe them down. Mm-hmm. I had to wipe down the outside chairs after it rained. So if you can picture that it's raining, the chairs are all wet. So mm-hmm. I need to wipe them down so that when someone comes to sit on them, the chairs are no longer wet. Does that make sense? Help explain wipe them down?
Yeah, it does. I have another question. So to wipe down means basically, to clean its surface, right? Mm-hmm. But is it kind of cleaning thoroughly or just like, roughly? Like...
I would say maybe depending on the situation, but I would say it would probably be more like wiping
gently. Wiping gently. Okay.
And the example in the video was if I'm remembering correctly, it was about cell phones. And could you wipe your cell phone or to really actually clean it and more importantly, disinfect it? And that's where, so if you can picture that you would take a cell phone and clean it off,
Right.
you might wipe it down gently, not
Gently.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. So,
gotcha.
hey, here's a random question for you. How often do you clean your cell phone?
To be honest, though, once a day.
Okay. Well, and isn't that what they recommended in the video too?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. And that was a big like, for me, because I'm like, I don't even know when the last time is I cleaned my cell phone. So I got some really good info from this video,
Right.
one of
It
which
is
is clean my cell phone every day.
yeah, it is a good reminder for sure.
For sure.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, like, I don't know, like, what's the best way to, clean, like, wipe down your cell phone, like, using, like, alcohol, like a 70%, I don't know what
Yeah.
they recommend exactly, but something
Oh,
like that.
I Googled it because I
Did
thought,
you?
oh, I did. And so I forget, it's like 70%, I don't know, maybe it's ethyl alcohol and something else, but
Isopropyl.
something like that. Yeah. But the bottom line is you can use something called rubbing alcohol.
Oh,
And,
okay.
you can buy a big bottle of that, pretty inexpensive.
Yeah.
And then just take like a cotton ball or cotton pad, put the rubbing alcohol on it and
Oh.
gently wipe it off. And because it's such a high alcohol content, I mean, it doesn't even really need to be dried. It just kind of evaporates.
Oh, okay. Wow,
So,
good to know.
and here you thought you were just learning English.
Thank you.
Yeah, you didn't know you're getting these cleaning tips.
Not at all. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yep. So, hey, how about the outside chairs? Would you read that sentence for me, please?
Yes, I had to wipe down the outside chairs after it rained.
Yeah, good job, right? Okay. And then some synonyms for wipe down. And this has to do more with the, like the outside chairs might be just getting rid of the, rain on them or the water on them. But as it's referred to in the video, synonyms could be I had to cleanse or clean, right?
Right.
Disinfect or wash. Although I'll be honest, when I see the word wash, I think of large quantities of water with that. Like if I'm going to wash my clothes or wash the dishes.
Oh, okay.
But possible synonyms for wipe them down.
Good to know. I have another question.
Okay, let me hear it.
So I know people here in the United States, I mean, in general, the English speakers, they use a lot of appraisal verbs, right? So for example, like a wipe down.
I think the word you want is phrasal.
Oh, phrasal.
Phrasal. Phrasal.
Yeah, phrasal.
Okay. Phrasal.
Do I sound better?
Yep, that's better pronunciation.
Okay, phrasal verbs, so such as to wipe down, to wipe up, to wipe off, something like that. But I don't know like the difference. So can you explain?
Yeah, I think on some of them, I think there's a very small difference. Like to wipe up something, that's usually like if there's something like a liquid has spilled and you are trying to remove it. So like I wiped up the soup you spilt in the kitchen.
Okay.
So, and so wipe up, wipe down. I wouldn't say I wiped down the soup. I might say I wiped down the counter where you spilled the soup. But if I'm wiping up, it's like I'm taking that liquid there and I'm removing
pick it up. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe if you think of it like, picking it up like that.
Gotcha.
And I think wipe off is pretty similar. Like I had to, wipe off the counter after you spilled the soup. So I'm not necessarily getting the soup now. I'm getting the counter. So I don't know if that helps.
It does, but it seems like I can use them interchangeably.
I think for sure you can say wipe them down and wipe up.
Okay.
if I'm going to wipe down my cell phone, I feel like I could also say I could wipe off
Wipe up. Okay.
my cell phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And another way wipe is sometimes used is in wipe out. Have you heard that one?
I think I have, yeah.
Okay, so, and that mostly means that something is like completely destroyed. Couple of things. Something's completely destroyed, like maybe, whole towns were wiped out in a flood.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so they're completely destroyed, gone. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Or if it means like, to lose control, like I wiped out when I went rollerblading. Meaning
okay. Lost my control.
Yeah, I lost control, fell.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Did you want to try a sentence of your own with wipe them down?
Yes.
Or wipe down?
Yes, I do.
You thought you were going to forget that.
Yeah, I was gonna skip this part, but what about this? Can you please wipe down the kitchen table because we're gonna bring out our dinner.
Perfect.
Bring out food for dinner, something like that.
Can you please clean the kitchen table off because we're gonna have dinner now.
Kitchen table off, not down. Oh, clean. Oh, never mind.
Clean.
I was like, I was confused.
I'm switching the main verb on you.
Okay, gotcha. Thank
you. Giving
you
a synonym. Yeah. Okay. All right. Fun fact, and I didn't know this before the story. Here's a fun fact about Dylan Dreyer. Fun fact, and I didn't know this before the story. Here's a fun fact about Dylan Dreyer. Fun fact, and I didn't know this before the story. Here's a fun fact about Dylan Dreyer. Fun fact, and I didn't know this before the story. Here's a fun fact about Dylan Dreyer. Fun fact, and I didn't know this before the story. And also we heard, here's a fun fact about Dylan Dreyer. So the phrase fun fact was used twice in the video. Is this a phrase you've ever heard before or used?
I think I have. Yeah. Fun fact.
Okay. All right. Well, here's what it means. So a fun fact is just usually like a little piece of information that's either interesting or perhaps entertaining. And it's often not connected to what was already being discussed. So it's almost like, kind of changing the subject. And if someone gives you a fun fact, they usually start out with fun fact or say somewhere in the sentence, fun fact, because that's how you know that it's a fun fact that's being given.
I see.
Right? So fun fact, that's what it means. So little interesting. Do you know the word tidbit? I think I might have used that as a synonym. Just a little bit of fun or entertaining information.
Oh, I see.
Okay. So would you like to pick one or both of those introductory sentences to read for me?
I can do both.
Okay.
Fun fact.
Good job.
Fun fact. And I didn't know this before the story.
Good job.
Here's a fun fact about Dylan Dreyer.
Yeah, Dreyer. I can't remember the exact pronunciation, but she was the blonde-haired lady.
Oh, okay.
In the
Dylan
video,
Dreyer.
And talking about how she doesn't like the sound of teeth being brushed.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That's where it came up. So yeah, okay. So good. Another sentence with fun fact. Fun fact. Did you know it is impossible for most people to lick their own elbow?
Interesting.
Yeah. Did you try?
I think it's impossible. Oh my God, I didn't know that.
See, that's what it's a fun fact. It's just a little piece of interesting information. And I did Google, like, what are some good fun facts? And when I saw it I thought, really? Okay. And I had to try.
I don't know how do I,
I don't even know how.
That's interesting fact.
So everybody listening, give it a try. See if you can do it. And if you can, you need to comment on this video and let us know I was able to lick my own elbow. Okay, so your turn.
My turn?
The sentence. Yeah, fun fact.
Yeah, fun fact. Did you know it is impossible for most people to lick their own elbow?
Yep. And did you just try?
Did you just try?
Yeah. Yep. So synonyms for fun fact. Trivia, right? Because trivia is usually just a little bit of information. A short fact, miscellaneous information, or I like the one I just thought of as tidbit. You know, here's a tidbit, like just a little bit of information about Dylan. Or, you know, here's some trivia.
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 Gotcha.
Yeah. So, so what do you think about fun fact? Can you think of some times, like, what's some fun fact that you can think of in your life?
So before I try it, I have a question.
Oh, okay.
So
That
when
you just want more time to think, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
There's like a time, what do you call it? A strategy, time saving.
Strategy, maybe?
Time strategy, something like that. Anywho, so when you start a sentence by saying fun fact, do you usually put an article, for example, a or the, something like that, or just, straight out of like a fun fact?
Yeah. I mean, I think at the start of the sentence, it's okay to just say fun fact.
Okay.
If you use it within the sentence, then I think you need the article a. Here's a fun fact, because you can't just say, if you were to say, here's fun fact about Dylan, then it to me, it sounds like a word is left out. I do think in this first example, you could say a fun fact. And I didn't know this before the story. I mean, you could use the article there if you wanted, but at the beginning of the sentence, I think in this example, it's okay to leave it off. It would be correct grammar. Okay.
That is more like natural way of saying, right? The fun fact.
Good point. Because I think, most people wouldn't speak. Sometimes, you don't speak exactly proper English when you're talking to someone as you would if you were maybe like writing a paper.
I see.
So to seem more natural was the word you use. Yeah, I would say fun fact. And I didn't know this before the story.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
All right. Did that give you time strategy? Do you have
Yes, it did.
Okay. Let me hear your fun fact.
Let me try it out. Okay. So do you know why we name our business Mile High English? Fun fact.
Okay, let me hear your fun fact now.
Denver is the capital city in Colorado. And we live in Colorado. And the Denver is known, people call Denver as a mile high city because it's literally located like a mile high. Is mile high? So that's why we name our business Mile High English.
I did not know that, and I think that's a great name for it. So, do you know when you say that Denver is called the Mile High City, do you know what that means when it's height? The height of the city? Yeah. There's a word for that. Do you know what it is?
What was it? I totally forget.
Starts with an E.
Empire?
No. No, the Babylonians had an empire.
What was it?
Elevation.
Elevation.
Gotcha. Yeah. If you look, a town like on the coast at the water, its elevation is probably sea level. So elevation is the difference between sea level and the location. So the elevation of Denver is like about a mile.
About a mile. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep. Isn't it fun?
Good fun fact. And I hope our listeners learned something new about Mile High English.
Thank you.
Yes. Speaking of like bacteria, what about sponges? 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 So in the video, we heard the phrase speaking of, and the way it came was speaking of like bacteria, what about sponges? And I put like in parentheses here because she said it but if grammatically correct, you really don't need it. It's just because she was speaking. And sometimes when you're talking, you add words or maybe leave out words that you wouldn't normally do in a more formal situation. So even though it's literally, it was speaking of like bacteria, what about sponges? It really could just be speaking of bacteria, what about sponges?
I see.
Okay. So this is another thing I learned in the video is like sponges. Okay. Hey, so would you please read the sentence for me?
Sure. Speaking of bacteria, what about sponges?
Yeah. And do you know what bacteria is?
Is it? I don't know. It's really hard to explain since it's a scientific word.
Yep. Scientific
It's a
term.
little like a thingy, like a living creature that we don't see, but it's there and it's doing something.
Yeah. And I would, a good synonym for bacteria maybe would be germs.
Germs, gotcha.
Okay. But you're right. They're teeny tiny, they're microscopic, which isn't the phrase we were going to talk about. But I think to know what bacteria is helps with knowing the overall understanding. So, yeah. So, if we're speaking of bacteria, oh, what about those sponges? So, what do you use in your kitchen? Do you use a sponge or a cloth?
I think we use both
Both?
sponges and cloth. Yeah.
Yeah, we pretty exclusively use sponges. And let's just say we should replace it more often than we are.
How often do they recommend like replacing it?
Didn't they say this one every week?
Every week.
Every week. Yeah.
That is kind of, yeah.
They gave some, some tidbits or some fun facts about ways you could clean and sterilize the sponge you do have so that you don't necessarily have to replace it all the time. Because I feel like replacing a sponge every week could be potentially wasteful.
Right.
So if you can clean it, sterilize it, they recommended putting it in the microwave. And and I will sometimes put my sponge in the dishwasher. I figure, well, if it's sterilizing the dishes, the dishwasher would probably sterilize the sponge too.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, that's enough about bacteria and sponges. So what we have going here is speaking of, and that's an expression we use that will introduce some topic that's kind of related to the subject that was previously mentioned or being talked about. So without even knowing what the video said, I would know that they said, speaking of bacteria, that whatever else they were talking about before was also about bacteria.
Gotcha. So you can make a guess, right?
Yep. You can kind of make that guess that, oh, okay, well, we're on the subject of or the topic of bacteria, right? And so speaking of, just introduce something related, but still a little bit different.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a sentence to give you another example of speaking of. So that's my favorite movie. Speaking of, did you know there will be a sequel next year? Right. So I'm talking about my favorite movie, or myself and another person. We're talking about favorite movies. I say, oh, yeah, that one was my favorite. And oh, speaking of, there's going to be a sequel next year. So it's kind of a new topic, but it's still linked to the previous topic.
I see.
Make sense?
Yeah, it does. Quick question though.
Yes, go for it.
So in your sentence, speaking of that part that doesn't include my favorite movie or movie, something like that, do you usually leave that part out? Do you know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, I do know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think you could go either way.
Okay.
But I think perhaps the more natural would be to say, oh, speaking of, or maybe say, speaking of that.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But anybody who hears this expression would know that, oh, yeah, even though I don't say speaking of movies, the listener would know that I'm talking about what was previously talked about, which was the movie.
I see.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So how about your turn? Would you read the movie sentence for me, please?
Of course. That's my favorite movie. Speaking of, did you know there will be a sequel next year?
Yeah. Yep. Good. Do you know what a sequel is?
Actually, I don't know what
Oh, it means like part 2 of the movie.
Oh, okay. It's kind of series.
Yes, there you go. Yeah,
Okay.
so it's like what's coming next.
Oh,
I can't think of any examples.
Batman, Indiana Jones.
Oh, Indiana Jones. There you go. Because how many sequels have there been to that one?
A lot. Probably 4 or 5 for sure.
Yeah. So have you seen the newest one?
Not yet. Yeah. Did it come out already?
Yeah, I think it did in the theater
Really?
anyway.
Wow.
Oh, and Harrison Ford says this will be the last one. So
Speaking of
speaking
Harrison
of,
Ford,
right.
I'm kind of
Will he make any
wondering.
more movies?
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering how many movies he has been in. Probably more than 100
Altogether?
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a little homework assignment. How many movies has Harrison Ford been in?
Or we can easily Google it later. Okay, never mind.
Exactly. Oh, but then you can put them in categories
Yes.
like action adventure, drama,
Wow.
rom-com.
Exactly.
There. Yeah. So, okay. So synonyms for speaking of, about, regarding, concerning, relating to. So, about bacteria. What about sponges? Regarding bacteria, concerning bacteria, or relating to bacteria.
Yes.
Okay, all of those would mean the same thing. Although I really think if you use an expression like speaking of, to me, that just sounds more interesting than about bacteria. And I think it's a more sophisticated use of the language to use common expressions.
I see.
All right, so give me a speaking of sentence.
Speaking of, okay. So I just came up with a really good example.
All right.
It seems like my phone is getting old. So speaking of, I just heard new iPhone will come out in 2 days. So probably I will keep an eye on that event.
Okay, that was an excellent use of the expression. And is that true about the iPhone?
Yes, it's true.
Okay, so I don't think I'm ready for a new phone, but I appreciate.
Me neither.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that fun fact.
Wow, look at you.
Look at us.
It seems like you're learning English, not me.
I'm just making sure to use the expressions we talk about.
You must have been a really good student.
I was a very good student, and I hope I'm a very good teacher.
You are. Thank you.
The soap bubbles come out, all that good stuff. The soap bubbles come out, all that good stuff. The soap bubbles come out, all that good stuff. The soap bubbles come out, all that good stuff. We heard in the video this sentence, the soap bubbles come out, all that good stuff. So the expression we want to take a look at is all that good stuff. And for context or meaning, they're talking about being able to get your sponge all wet, soapy, and put it in the microwave. So that's where the soap bubbles come out from. So all that good stuff. Although, honestly, it's really not good stuff that's coming out since it's the bacteria. But hey, it's just an expression.
Then they should have said all the best stuff.
Yeah, they could have, or they should have, but that's not the expression.
Gotcha.
So, and you'll see that again in my definition and my example. So, okay, so all that good stuff means that and everything similar, or that and everything else. However, it doesn't always have to be something good, right? So literally in this, it's the bacteria coming out, but don't confuse that with the expression, because frequently there's not something literally coming out of whatever it is, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
And this sentence, maybe this will explain it better, right? Oh, I have a headache, fever, sore throat, and all that good stuff. So there's nothing good about having a headache, having a fever, having a sore throat. But that's the expression that just means, that and everything else that kind of, in this one, goes along with being sick.
Wow, that's a really good sentence.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So, I don't think I had you read the soap bubbles one. Would you like to do that first?
Yeah, sure. The soap bubbles come out, all that good stuff.
Yeah, well done. Good pronunciation and everything there.
Thank
So,
you.
and now how about the sicky sentence?
Can you repeat that?
How about reading the sicky sentence, meaning
Oh,
the
sickest
sentence because
sentence.
you're a
Okay, I was.
sicky? Sorry, that was probably, there is no such word as sicky. So that's
Oh.
just a sick person.
Okay, sickest sentence. Okay, I have a headache, fever, sore throat, and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. And hopefully you don't, because I don't either. So, right?
Mhm.
And some synonyms. You could say, and so on, all that kind of thing, etc. So, I've got a headache, fever, etc., just meaning more of the same, right?
Mm,
I've got a headache, fever, all that kind of thing, meaning anything going with what's been listed already.
mhm.
I have a headache, fever, sore throat, and so on. And then the listener knows, like with that, I could go on and on with my list of how I feel. So I'm stopping it there. And I got all this good stuff happening.
Right. Okay.
Right. Okay. So questions on all that good stuff.
It seems like there's another. I think I just came up with a synonym.
Oh, let me hear it. I'd love to.
So it seems like people also say so on and so forth. Does it have this exact same meaning?
Yep, I think it does. That'd have been a great synonym to have added. Probably would have even been better that all that kind of thing.
Oh, all
So
that kind
yeah,
of thing.
and so on and so forth. Again, the list kind of just goes on and on.
Okay. What about yada yada yada? I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, that's a good one. Yada yada yada.
Is it?
And I don't know what that exactly means, but
Uh-huh.
that would be another thing. Or how about and blah blah blah? That would that and yada 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 seem very similar to me in meaning.
Okay.
I'd
Gotcha.
have to Google the meaning though, because I don't know exactly what they mean. And those might be some expressions you wouldn't even find in the dictionary. They just get
Mm,
used a lot.
gotcha.
Okay, so yeah, that was a very good synonym. So nice
Thank
job.
you.
So now what do you think? All that good stuff. How do
All
you
that
feel
good
about
stuff.
making a
Probably
sentence of your own?
my sentence doesn't have like a negative meaning, but I
That's
don't
okay.
know
That's
if I
probably
can try
better
it.
because then listeners have two examples.
Okay, so whenever I go hiking, I always make sure I carry all the medications I need in case I need them. Um, like Tylenol, ibuprofen, or allergy medicine, all that good stuff.
Yeah, that was a good one. So,
Oh, thank you.
and do you really carry all that medicine when you go hiking?
I do. I'm
Yeah,
so prepared.
I think it's important to be prepared. When I travel, I have a separate little bag that has all the medicines that I might need,
Oh,
all that good stuff.
all that good stuff.
Hmm?
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Nice job.